Every time you use antibacterial soap or use antibiotics to fight an infection, there are some bacteria that survive. And medical officials at the Berlin conference are warning that these survivors are leading us towards a post-antibiotic apocalypse.
We talk about, if this goes on, the growth of superbugs, the death of modern medicine, a post-antibiotic apocalypse. And why do I say that? Well, not only do we need antibiotics in daily life for bacterial infections, of course not for viral infections, but actually a lot of people are prone to infections through their treatments, their cancer treatments, their transplantation. There are patients with diabetes who are more prone to infections. So we would lose the effectiveness of protecting those patients.
In the post-antibiotic world, these officials are predicting that every invasive procedure becomes more dangerous, from critical surgery to common outpatient operations.
Then think about common operations, cesarean sections, replacement hips. Those would become much more risky if we did not have effective antibiotics. Superbugs kill, and they're on the rise.
That's why these leaders are urging nations to not only cut back on their use of antibiotics, but to prepare for the worst with a national action plan designed for the day when antibiotics are no longer effective.
We need to see tangible work to make sure that we're only using antibiotics when we really need them, that we're thinking about how we get antibiotics to people who really need them, recognizing that in a lot of poorer countries, people don't have access to the same antibiotics that we have in richer countries, and that is killing hundreds of thousands of people every year too. So we need to get both access and stewardship working better.
The problem and the alarm that was sounded at the conference is that these antibiotics are so prevalent, they are literally everywhere.
We also need to understand how all this works together, so that you have antibiotics through waste, particularly in the environment, you have antibiotic use in the food chain, and you have antibiotic use in humans. We know that too much of that is bad across the whole lot, but we don't know how they all work together, and we need to understand that better.
The researchers at the conference unveiled a new way to map the spread of drug-resistant bacteria. They estimated that 700,000 people around the world die every year from drug-resistant bacterial infections, and that number could rise to 10 million annually by 2050. For writer Kevin Enochs, I'm George Putic, VOA News.